As a Black person, have you ever remembered, or do you remember when you actually turned Black? Do you remember that? I posted a video about that for white folks because literally it has been trending. People coming to share their experience, what actually make them to remember that they are Black, one or two scenarios that they've actually gone through. But anyways, let me know in the comment section, do you have anything as a Black person? Because this one is for Black people specifically. What make you turn Black, or what make you remember that, I'm a Black person? Like, what kind of scenario wowed you? I really want to get your experience. Anyways, this is just for educational purposes, and this is actually a fun video for each and every one of us to hear from each other's stories and learn as well. Credit belongs to the original creators of every single clip and stitches we have in our today's episode. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe, like, comment, and share. I want to say a very big thank you to every single one of you supporting, watching, dropping commentaries. You guys are the best. To my returning subscribers, I love you guys. Mwah. Anyways, with that being said, let's get right into this video, and I'll be back with commentaries.
I remember when I turned Black. Do you remember when you turned Black? I mean, you know, since we're talking about when folks turned Black, I can absolutely remember when the world changed for me. I was in kindergarten, and they had begun busing the schools in Wisconsin, where I was at school, at an all-Black school. This was 1975, maybe 76. And we were walking home from school, my brother and I. And there was a group of white people outside with glass bottles and sticks. And the sticks had like nails in them. And some of them had what looked like signs. I guess I know it now. And they were yelling. And they were yelling, and there was no one there. And we were walking home, and there were children outside of myself and my brother who were trying to get home because we walked home. And I remember being called a monkey, and you're not going to school with my kids, and we don't want your Black so-and-so and so-and-so over here, you N-word this and N-word that. And across the street, I could see my mother in a trench coat as she walked across the street. And it was as if her presence scared them all. And the crowd opened up like the Red Sea, and it parted for her. And she took our hands, and she said, "Hold your head up." I'll never forget that day. And when we got home, we learned we were Black.
Of course I'm going to join the day I found out I was Black trend. So we go all the way back. Oh my goodness. So the day I turned Black, I can't stop there, because there was a day I turned Black, there was a day I turned Blacker, and then there was a day I turned Blackest. There's a difference in the three. So the day I turned Black was the day that my mother called us in from playing to study the Word of God. And as we are studying, we're reading about the characters in the Bible. And I'm looking at the fact that where Zipporah was from, Moses' wife, I'm looking at the fact that Moses was able to go into Egypt and they didn't know the difference in how he was. And then also Jesus was taken from Bethlehem to Nazareth. From Bethlehem into Egypt, and they didn't charge his daddy any extra taxation. Wait a minute. Egypt is well. Midian is well. Wait a minute. Jesus is what? He is also Black. That was the day I realized I was Black. And looking at the photos that my great uncles hand drew of biblical characters from our ancestors passing down information, and my mother passed that information down to us, there was no denying it. I had to accept the fact that I was black. Now on to the day I turned black girl. That was the day I turned black girl, was when I walked into a Fortune 500 company as a broker, owning my firm, representing my clients, and demanded that they pay my clients more than they paid my previous clients for the purchase of his property. In addition to that, I required them to pay all of my clients' debt, tax liens, and everything that they wanted to acquire the property. It was a demand. You either pay this or we can keep our property. And this was back when the whole Gucci and Fendi thing was going on. You know, when they boycotted and banned Gucci, so we switched over to Fendi. So this particular day, I walked in with a Fendi belt. Old girl was over there with a Gucci belt that she bought off eBay. She walks over to me at the end of the transaction, after all of the papers are signed, and she puts the check in front of me, and she double tapped it. She double tapped it. And she said, "Take this to the owner of Blip 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 Realty." I stood up and said, "I am she. She is me." Grabbed my check, grabbed my bag, and grabbed my binder, and walked out of their door with my double tapped check to my double tapped company. That's the day I turned black girl. Now for the caveat, the day I turned blackest. The day I turned blackest was the day President Joe Biden endorsed VP Kamala Harris for president. That is the day I turned blackest. Because it was simply the color of my skin and or the color of her skin that brought people from all walks of life together in support of her. But then it brought another element, that all they know is hate and fear-mongering and evil, debauchery and ugliness. I could say so more. Grape, pillage. They showed up. And they started, this me standing upright in all my blackness. They started, and I didn't budge. And they, and I didn't budge. Then they, and I didn't budge. Then they, and I clapped back. Then they, and I didn't budge. Then they, roar, and I never budged. That was the day I turned blackest. And in traditional black-ass form, we celebrate our president, Joe Biden, for stepping down.
It all reminds me of that gospel hymn that inspired so many of us. When I last talked to John
This
Lewis,
is our mantra.
dying, he reminded me of it. I don't feel no ways tired. I've come too far from where I started from. Nobody told me the road would be easy. I don't believe he brought me this far to leave me. He did not leave us. We are not tired. The road hasn't been easy, but we've come too far to stop now. So please, vote. It all reminds me of that gospel hymn.
Madam Vice President, are you on TikTok?
He did not leave us. And Madam Vice President is on TikTok. There's the day I turned black. The day I turned blacker. And then the finale. the day I turned blackness. Have a blessed Sunday in Jesus' name.
Time. In light of recent events, I thought I would go ahead and share the story all about the day that I turned black. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're like, this is a joke. This is going to go somewhere. But hang on. It's not a joke. The day was April 11th, 2018. It was morning. I had just taken my son to school, and I was now back at home at my mom's house at the dining table, finishing up my breakfast. My son and I had just moved back to New Mexico from California. We had planned to be there very temporarily, and then COVID laughed in our faces, or coughed in it. So we had been there maybe about 6 weeks at this point, and we're staying at my mom's house. Mom's husband had already gone to work, so it was just my mom and I in the house sitting at the table. She's munching on her oatmeal and reading the newspaper. I'm sitting at the table, I'm journaling. I see my phone light up beside me. I take a look at my phone and I have an email notification. So I go to click on the email notification and it's from 23andMe. My heart starts pounding. My stomach is in my throat. I feel like I'm gonna throw up. The subject line is, "Your reports are ready." This is the moment I have been waiting for since I got to my mom's house in New Mexico. I excuse myself from the table, say I'm gonna go to the bathroom. I go into the bathroom, shut the door behind me, and I have a seat. I am anxiously opening up my email. At this point, I'm gonna fucking throw up. This is something that I have wanted to know my entire life, and I'm about to find out right now what the truth is. I'm sweating, palms are sweaty, heart is pounding. I click the link to go to my results and I scroll. I see the first top of the results, which are European. I knew about that part. I wasn't worried about that. I was like, yeah. I don't care what the European is. Take me to the next part. So I scroll and sure enough, there it is right in front of me. My other half, Sub-Saharan African. And it's clear that I am exactly who I thought I was, but I didn't ever have the clear answers to. In that moment, I realize my life has been a fucking lie. There's a lot processing, but that's the biggest part. So I say, okay, let me just clarify here. So I scroll down more just to see if there's anything else, specifically Hispanic. I look through, 0% Hispanic, none whatsoever, no version of Hispanic is anywhere on my results, okay? It's 0%, it is black and white. Now, based off of these results, my dad is not my biological father. For a little bit of background, my mom is white. My dad, who raised me, is Mexican. My name is Elena. My last name is Flores. I have a very Hispanic name. I was conditioned my entire life to believe that I was half Mexican and half white. Growing up, I grew up in a very small town and there was really nobody who looked like me. The percentage of black people was very small. So you were either full black, Mexican, or white. As much as I didn't know how to express it growing up and I didn't really know how to consciously understand what I was feeling on a subconscious level, as I got older, frontal lobe did her thing and said, girl, you should probably take a DNA test because I think you are starting to figure it out. I think you're starting to figure out what everybody else has known all along. So at this point, my mom is still at the dining table, enjoying her breakfast, reading her newspaper, having no clue that the daughter who she knows is half black is in the bathroom having a fucking identity crisis at the age of 31. That's right, I was 31 when I found out this information. I'm still just trying to process the information that I just read, and I'm reading it over and over again. So, like, if you ever taken a pregnancy test and it turns up positive and you're like you're like, but really, like, you know, but you're still like, this is like, it's so surreal, right? Like, this has just made it 1,000 times real. Bitch, I was pregnant all over again with myself, now presenting to the world somebody that I had not been my entire life. I stand up, I go to the bathroom mirror, I put my hands on the sink, and I just look at my face. I just look at my face and I'm like, bitch, you've been cosplaying as Mexican this entire time. And you knew on the inside that you didn't look Mexican. But when people would ask you, you didn't know what to say because that's what you were told your entire life. I was like, I've been out here lying to folks and they're probably laughing in my face. People would ask me my entire life what I was mixed with, how I was Mexican, how I had this Mexican name. They'd be like, you have to be mixed with black, or be like, oh, are you black and Mexican because of my name? Or basically they'd be like, who lied to you? Somebody's lying. I've been asked if I'm Puerto Rican, Dominican. I can see how maybe the idea of me being Afro-Latina would make sense to people based on looking at me. So I'm going through all of this and then it hits me, girl, you've realized now that your dad is not your biological father. But who is? Then I'm like, oh shit, like there's a whole nother man in the story that I got to figure out. So at this point I had heard my mom get up from the table. I had heard her go outside to the backyard. I heard the back door shut. So I'm like, okay, it's safe to go out and I don't even know what to do because I came into the bathroom half Mexican I walked into the bathroom half Mexican, kind of. Even though internally, obviously, I took this test for a reason, right? I was now walking out of the bathroom a new woman. Like I was now half black and I was very proud of that. I was so here's the thing. When I read these results, no part of me was angry or disappointed or upset. The only thing that really triggered me was now the fact that I had to figure out basically where I came from and who I actually was at the core of me. I had somebody ask me one time, what was your first reaction? Like, what did you first feel in your body whenever you got to the reports? I said the first thing I felt was relief. I can't explain it, but it was this, like I could take this big deep breath because I finally knew who I was and I knew the truth. And I don't know how to explain it. I know there are going to be a lot of people who are like, girl, what the fuck? Why were you telling people you were Mexican if you knew on the inside? Because this is what I was conditioned to be. I never felt the need to question my parents. I couldn't understand exactly why I looked the way that I looked. But at the same time, I was so close to my dad who raised me that there was no doubt in my mind that this man was my father. And so whenever the doubt did start to creep in at an older age as an adult, I felt bad about it. I felt really guilty because I didn't know the truth. I just continued to tell people who I thought I was and who my parents told me I was. Eventually, when people would be like, oh, what are you mixed with? I'd be like, oh, just a mix of it, like just a lot of things, because I was kind of like, that's whenever I was getting into this point of, I don't know what the truth is. So I walk out the bathroom door, I look at my dog, I'm like, I'm half black. I'm ready to tell everybody. I'm excited about this, but I'm also like, I need some deets. Like I need a full on story. Now, it may sound like I'm making a joke of it now. Right now I'm making it humorous. And parts of it were humorous, but also there was parts of it that I was still kind of numb. This was a lot for me to suddenly recognize, and I embraced it immediately. But at the same time, it was like an out-of-body surreal experience. Like I was now walking around seeing myself through other people's eyes, which was huge for me. I decided at this point, I'm not going to say anything to my mom right away. I just need some time to take this all in. I decide I'm gonna go to the gym, go work out. So before I go to the gym, I go into the kitchen. I'm about to make myself a protein shake, and I glance through the back door and see my mom hanging clothes on the line. So I go around to the back door and just stare at her for a little bit through the window. She can't see me, so I'm just watching her hang clothes on the line, play with the dog. And in my head, I'm like, this woman has been holding this in for 31 years. 31 years she has held on to some kind of secret. I don't know what the secret is yet, but she's held on to something. If you've made it this far, thank you for sticking around. In the next part, I will go into the conversation with my mom.
When I turned black, it was the late 80s. It was the summer. And we were staying with my grandmother for the summer, home from Germany. And we were at church. It was likely 114 degrees up in that church. I had a church fan, but it was just blowing around the hot air. And the pastor had been preaching, I know, for at least 2 hours. Now, I was a little kid, so maybe he was preaching for 45 minutes, but it felt like he was preaching for 2 hours. And he took a pause. And my grandmother, mother of the church, was sitting to the right side of the pulpit, first row. I was in the second pews, second row. And my grandmother said, "Take your time, Pastor." And I made a face and let out a sigh that I'm sure everybody in town heard. And my grandmother turned around and looked at me and put the fear of God in me. That's when I turned black.
I remember the day I turned black. My mom was on her way to work, and she told me I needed to watch my younger brothers. In other words, make sure the place stay clean, make sure nothing's broke, and make sure all them snacks ain't ate up. So then I complained and said, why do I have to watch them? Why can't they watch themselves? Then my mom, with a straight face, looked dead at me and said, I'll make it to where you'll never have to watch them again. I brought you into this world, and I'll take you back out. That's the day I knew I was black.
When I turned black, I was wearing something similar to what I got on right now. A tank top, some on Ia Lava Lava, and flip-flops. They'd be like, what that boy got on, man? Black guys that I knew, they dressed really well. They had Jordans on. And then they look at my stuff. Old ashy baby fishing rod toe having ass. Welfare Benny Kravitz looking ass. Juices and Berries, Prince Hakeem looking ass. Just rapid fire insults one after another. So fast I'm laughing along with them. Like, I can't keep up. I was like, man, I want to talk about people like that and we still be friends. I just kind of hung around them. I joined the black frat. I was in a black church, I had black girlfriends, raised millions of dollars for a black organization, for a black program for black kids. The police knew I was black. Insurance companies knew I was black. My name don't sound black, but when I went into the job interview, I walked into the room, the look on their face was like, oh damn, I didn't know this dude was black. And even though I dressed the way that I do, no one questioned whether or not I was black. I did have some internal struggles since I wanted to connect with my black side while remaining my Samoan self. Then I realized, I think I've been black this whole time. I never had to tell anybody I was black. Only time I had to say it was when people tried to use it against me.
Years to figure out I was black. When I was 8 years old, I moved to the United States. Before then, I had no concept of race. I had never even had a discussion about race because everybody around me looked like me. And as far as I was concerned, the whole world looked like me. So what was there to discuss? In fact, when I was born, I came out a little lighter than the village and the neighborhood was used to. And they told my mother to go get me tested to make sure that I wasn't being possessed by a demon. She didn't do that. So when she told me this story, I spent years fearing that I had actually been possessed by a demon this whole time. But that's another story for another time. Anyways, I'm in the United States. I'm learning English. I'm learning about the concept of race. I'm figuring out that really light-skinned little boy with the weird hair and the lips is actually not sick and dying. He's just white. I'm learning the names. I'm learning the labels. I'm figuring it out. But then something weird happened. As I learned the language and finally started understanding what the hell the people around me were saying, I realized that they kept referring to me as black. And I'm like, I'm not black, I'm Haitian. But I wasn't gonna tell them that because being Haitian in the early 2000s was not fun. And I was trying to assimilate. I was trying to get away from the bullying. I was trying to get away from the stereotypes. So I never corrected them. I never agreed because I didn't want to get caught lying, but I never corrected them. So then I'm like, okay, as long as I don't say anything, everything's fine. So as a result, I spent the next 10 years living in fear. Living in absolute fear that one day somebody was gonna figure out that I had been lying this whole time, that I was in fact not black but Haitian, that like and I'd have to I'd be shunned by the whole entire school. I would lose my reputation, non-existent as it was. I'd have to apologize at the end of the year. People would pull their trays away from me when I was walking by. They'd stop conversing and turn around and give me their backs when I was walking down the hall. I watched a lot of Disney movies, I don't know if you can tell, but I was afraid, right? And then one day, the worst happens. I'm talking to one of my good friends, and I admit to the fact that I'm Haitian. I let it slip. My deep, dark secret was now out in the open. And she just looks at me and goes, cool. That's kind of cool. And asking me questions. I'm like, oh, okay. Oh my God, she's such a good friend. She's willing to keep this secret for me. She's willing to carry this to her grave. She is willing to, if the worst ever happens, stands next to me on that stage as I apologize at the end of the year. But no, I had gotten it wrong. The next day, she sees me down the hall, screaming at the top of her lungs. She goes, hey, my Haitian queen. Why would you do this to me? Why would you do this to me? We'll call her Sarah. Why would you do this to me, Sarah? Why would you betray me? Does our super hula connection mean nothing to you? Our ships have been sailing the same tumbler waters for years. Why would you betray me? But I said all of this with my eyes, and I could tell she didn't understand because she just kept on waving. Long story short, I never trusted her with another secret. Fast forward after that traumatizing set of 4 years. Fast forward, I'm in college, and I decide, you know what? I'm gonna get right. I can't live like this. I can't keep living in fear. So my new, fresh, brand new set of friends, I went to school out of state. So there was no connections, no chance of someone from my high school being in my college. So I felt like I had a brand new start and that I could finally be myself. So I sat them down. I let them know, hey, I'm Haitian. And they're like, okay, like, that's cool. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, we're on the same page. They get it now. Like, I'm not Black, I'm Haitian. I don't have to pretend to know all the references. I don't have to pretend to have grown up with all of like the 90s cartoons and the early 2000s cartoons. Cause I just got here. I got here in 2003. Like I didn't know. And then I had to spend years learning English. So all I knew was Dragon Tales and Arthur, you know? So then I was like, okay, cool. I don't have to pretend. I don't have to lie. This is a fresh, brand new start. So one day, I'm at the cafeteria, like, and I overhear a conversation. And it's this girl talking about how she's tired of people using Black and African American interchangeably. My ears perk up. Because as far as my ESOL teacher was telling me, as far as I knew, y'all were the same. Black, African American, same damn thing. But she goes on to explain the difference between race and nationality and how she's so damn tired of people thinking that these things are the same thing and equating African American with Black. That was the moment I realized that I had been lied to, I had been fooled, I had been bamboozled, and actually I was Black this whole damn time. When I tell you I felt betrayed, when I tell you I felt mad, I wasted years tiptoeing, pretending, years. And it was all for nothing. 10 years. 10 years. So now, whenever I see like a popular celebrity or like someone in the public eye, whenever I see them like deny the fact that they're Black and they're just like, I'm not Black, I'm X, insert their nationality, like some part of me is like, should I go in the comment section? Should I defend them? Should I like try to explain what they might have meant? And it's always, the answer is always no, because I did my time.
I have albinism, and the only persons that I usually explain that to is little kids, because they're seeing a Black face on a white body with blonde hair, so it confuses them. They stay a little too long. If they're curious, I'll explain that to them. I don't waste my time with adults. One of the craziest compliments Jamaican men mostly tend to give me is, I love your color. Sir, what color? Like, stop trying to piss me off. You know I don't have any color. And they dead ass think that's a compliment. In my mind, I'm the color I'm supposed to be. As far as I'm concerned, I'm brown. Because if I didn't have albinism, I would be brown. My skin would be brown. So that's the color I am. Telling people I love your color is crazy work. So it will never get you far. I don't date men that I feel have a problem with their complexion. Or men who I feel like are colorist. The Black men I date, they're mostly dark. And the reason for that is, I dated a boy in what grade was I? I was in the 8th grade. His name was David. He was brown. He had green eyes. His mother also had albinism. And everybody thought he was my brother. I didn't want to be walking down the street holding hands with a boy that people thought was my brother. So we broke up. Then, in 9th grade, this boy named Michael. Michael also had light eyes. And everybody also thought Michael was my brother. That was the last light boy that I ever dated. I wanted to be clear who I'm related to and who I'm not. Funny thing is, none of my brothers look like me. All my brothers are dark. But as a lighter complexion woman, I always made it my point to use my complexion and the privilege that comes with it to advocate for others, especially when I'm dating. Like, I don't allow colorist people around me. I don't teach my children to be colorists, and I don't have an ego regarding my complexion. And I think the reason because of that is technically I didn't know that I was light skinned until I was 10 years old and I came to the United States. Where I'm from, we go based on your ethnicity, not based on your complexion. So initially, in 6th grade, when I got to New York, and everybody was like, "What are you? What are you? What are you?" They all thought I was from Jamaica because I had a Caribbean accent. But when the kids were asking me, "What am I?" they wanted to know like white, black, Hispanic, and I didn't understand the question. So finally, a little white girl, an Armenian white girl, told me, "Oh, I'm white," because she put her hand next to my hand and she was like, "See, you're white like me." So I went home telling my mother, "Hey, guess what? I'm white." And she said, "You came out of my black pussy. You black." And that's how I found out I was black.
Anyways, welcome back, guys, and thank you so much. Those are all the clips that I actually have for you guys. You know, a lot of people have different scenarios, what actually happened that made them turn black. Some good reasons, why some awful reasons. A lot of things have literally happened for a lot of people to be able to look back and be like, and sometimes you see some people questioning yourself and be like, why was I even born black? Why was it I born with some certain privileges? Or why wasn't I born white, and so on and so forth? But in the midst of all of this chaos that we black people have literally have to question ourselves, there is one thing for sure that has actually been keeping us. And that thing is, if you ask every single black person, what do you actually want to be born if you were to be reborn, they will still tell you that they are going to choose their melanin popping skin. So in the midst of the struggles, in the midst of the chaos, in the midst of the wind, in the midst of the storm, we still choose to be black, despite the fact that we have different scenarios that have actually made us sat back, look and be like, why wasn't I here? I have never thought about that. Every single day, I see myself as a black person. I see myself as someone that is blessed. I see myself as someone that is prosperous. I see myself as that black woman that can actually lead every single person to their destination. And that is what these people fear the most. The fact that no matter what have actually happened around us, we are still trying to hold up. We're still trying to put our head high. It is a big thing for them. And for those ones that is actually watching this video, if you're watching this video as a black person and you feel so down about yourself, probably one or two scenarios must have happened that you've doubted yourself and you so wish to be white, or you so wish to be in another race. I want to tell you that you were not here by mistake. You were not a black person by mistake. You were here because God actually chose you and designed you to be here. And all you need to do is to look up to yourself, put your head high, and do not, I repeat, do not look down on yourself even one bit, because a lot of them are wishing to be you. A lot of them wish they were in your shoes. A lot of them wish that your reality as a black person is actually their reality. That is why no matter what they are trying to do, push us east, west, north, and south, they still see that we are standing strong, standing together, and we are uniting as one. And I want to take this opportunity to tell every single one of us that if you see any of your black person maybe having some argument or something is happening, please try as much as possible to support them and pull them out of that place if possible, because the only person that actually got our back is me and you that got our back. If you're leaving it for these other races, sorry, they do not have our backs at all. In fact, they literally can decide to do something and still put it on our head. That is the level where we are as at this point. So let me know, do you remember when you turned black? I want to know in the comment section. I want to know your own experience. Credit belongs to original creators of every single clips and stitches we have in our today's episode. If you haven't subscribed. Anyways, with no further ado, I do add like I in my videos. I'm going to be saying, and I'll see you guys in my next one. This is just for educational purposes. I stand a chance to be corrected, so feel free to correct me in the comment section. Bye for now, guys. I love you guys.